His inability to comfort Madison in her time of need caused him more pain than he'd ever experienced before. As she barked orders to everyone like a drill sergeant, the pain in her eyes left him a broken man. He had to do something. Everyone had come together with a single goal: find Kennedy. Tiffany spoke more in 1 hour than she had since he'd met her. She told them all Mastema's habits and the things he had said to her. Her strength amazed him. She moved right past her pain to help the woman who saved her life.
Father, call the police. Get the detective here right now if you have to kidnap him to do it.
Madison ordered. Brian wondered if she realized she called Uriel father for the first time. A look of joy flickered across Uriel's face. He noticed. Brian knew he would do whatever it took to get the detective there.
Michael, teach me how to connect while I'm awake. I know I can do it. I did it once with the woman who he put in the car. I never even learned her name.
Michael's eyes flickered toward Brian. They both knew, in Madison's emotional state, she'd never be able to focus enough to connect at will, but Brian shrugged because she wouldn't believe it if they told her. Michael would help her as best he could. Madison, go with Michael. He'll walk you through the steps you need to take. First, you must calm down and focus. You aren't alone here. The rest of us will use the resources we have available to us and locate her with good old-fashioned groundwork. Go find our girl and know you aren't alone. Vivian kissed her daughter on the forehead as she shoved her toward Michael. Brian could tell Madison wanted to argue, but the lure of connecting with Kennedy proved too strong, and she did as her mother told her to do. The helplessness of being unable to offer a strategic job duty overwhelmed him. How could he help bring Kennedy home? What could he offer?
The detective is on his way, wants to know why we didn't tell him about Tiffany.
Uriel said as his hand covered the mouthpiece of the phone.
Because she has nothing to say to him.
Tiffany snapped.
I called my mother and told her I was alive, but I needed peace and quiet to heal. I said no police. He may want to talk to you.
Uriel said.
I'm sure he does, but I have nothing to say to him. The damned fool arrested Brian.
He liked Tiffany and Abigail. They had such a unique perspective which endeared them to him. They both would go to the ends of the earth for Madison, and for that reason alone, he felt a kinship with them. Though he'd been asked to join the band of angels, he didn't necessarily feel a part of them. Tiffany and Abigail came in as outsiders and were welcomed into the fold just as he had been. Well, I imagine I do look suspect. More so now in a house with one victim that I've already been linked to, another who refuses to talk to the police, and now a third from the same vicinity. The idea of Kennedy as one of Mastema's victims turned his stomach. She had such a zest for life, a vivaciousness which couldn't be contained. He prayed, with all his might, she would be found safe and unharmed, though he knew the chances grew slimmer with each passing moment. Gabriel? Brian asked, as he turned toward the dark-haired archangel. Let's go pay Isleys a visit. They work for him. He had a score to settle with them as it was. If he could find information about Mastema at the same time, he'd be content.
Neither of you will leave before the policeman arrives. If you do, it will look like you ran, and we can't afford to have anyone getting arrested today. We may need this human to open doors we do not have access to.
Leave it to Uriel to be logical in a time of crisis.
Fine, but after the cop leaves, we're so there, bro.
Gabriel gave Brian a nod which he returned. They would vent some of their frustrations out on the miserable scum who work for Mastema. Raphael unraveled a map that took up a good portion of Madison's formal dining table. There was red and blue tombstone-looking images at various places around the city.
Red is hell portals, blue is heaven portals. Now the demons can't use the blue ones because they can't pass through the light barrier. Same goes for angels and the red. The darkness will break down our bodies until we literally turn to ash. The brighter the light, the more it hurts, so stay away from them.
Raphael spoke in a low, quiet voice, but Brian knew his words were meant for him.
I say we go portal busting. Let's just blow the suckers sky high.
Gabriel said.
We know where they are, the ancients can make new ones. Let's lead an all-out attack on the demons.
Said Gabriel.
The objective is to save Kennedy, not start a war. They are many, we are few. Until he commands it, we do not launch an offensive against them. Kennedy's well-being is our only priority.
Uriel again kept a level head, while Gabriel and Brian suggested violent maneuvers.
Well, give me something to do then, because I'm not about to sit here and wait for her to be killed while we discuss how to save her.
Gabriel said.
Fine, Brian, find some clue within this map to lead us to the portal he's using now. Mastema is a demon, he can't use many. He must surface every 2 hours to get enough Earth atmosphere to sustain a human in hell. He doesn't have to bring her, but he does have to carry back buckets of soil. So we need a portal with access to good, fresh, nutrient-rich dirt for him to carry down into hell. After you come up with 5 and we are finished with the detective, you two can go blow them up. If we trap Mastema in hell, we can rely on Vivian's family for support. They hate the interlopers as much as we do.
Uriel gave his orders and left no question as to who the second in command was when Michael's attentions were occupied. Brian went to the table and stared at the map. He knew busy work when he'd been given it, but would do his best to try and find something worthwhile just the same. The portals in the city would be useless, because there wasn't a whole lot of soil left among the buildings and roads of the concrete jungle they lived in. What about botanical shops? Would they house enough dirt for him to cart back and forth? Brian asked. He remembered passing a flower shop near the Ally where Tiffany had been taken.
Plenty, and it would be bagged and ready to carry. Less work for him to do.
Uriel said. Why? Brian relayed his information, and Gabriel pulled out a laptop. Gabriel went to work after the machine loaded and brought the screen toward Brian.
There's a florist shop here and here.
Gabriel made X's on the map.
There's also a nursery here.
He said.
Not to mention a department store with a garden section here, here, and here.
Brian circled the places that overlapped with hell portals and some type of place where Mastema had immediate access to fresh earth. That's the places he wanted to start at. The idea of waiting for the detective irritated him. If the man tried to arrest him today, Brian would override his free will. He'd take the consequences later, but Kennedy's life would be his priority. A knock on the door signaled his arrival, and Brian tensed. He knew the decorated officer suspected the worst from him. Uriel gave stern looks to both Brian and Gabriel.
I swear, if you two do something stupid, I'm going to make your lives hell for all of eternity.
Gabriel replied first.
What? I didn't do or say anything.
I will do my best to act accordingly. Brian said, though he knew he wouldn't keep the promise if the detective stepped out of line. The policeman entered the formal dining hall, and his eyes narrowed as he looked at Brian. The heat from his gaze boiled Brian's blood. It irked him that someone could genuinely believe he would harm an innocent, let alone the women he'd grown to know. Detective, Brian said.
Brinkley!
The snide way he said his last name got under Brian's skin.
A map of where you hide the bodies.
He motioned over Brian's shoulder to the map of portals. Brian's jaw clamped shut, and he clenched his teeth until his teeth popped.
We didn't call you here to insult our brother.
Uriel said as he played peacemaker.
Why did you call me here?
The detective asked.
Kennedy Stiletto has been taken, and we believe it's by the same man who kidnapped Tiffany Calloway.
If you know who took her, and you were able to spirit Tiffany away on your own, why call me at all?
He asked.
This is not a pissing contest of who can do what. You are the man in charge of this investigation, and we're willing to share what we know if you'll help us rescue Kennedy before it's too late.
The man stood tall in his dress slacks and blue blazer. Brian wanted to shake him and force him to do whatever Uriel needed him to do. The look of annoyance the office bore let Brian know they'd get nowhere. Lambert determined Brian was the guilty party and wasn't at all interested in looking at anyone else. He really hated obstinate people at times. Just then Tiffany came in with a stack of something in her hand. She didn't say a word, but she glared at the detective.
While you were dicking around and arresting innocent good men, this was done to me.
One by one, she flipped over images of bruises, cuts, and burn marks on her body. She showed pictures that detailed intimate areas of her body not left unmarred by the madman's touch. Brian's heart ached for her, and he put his hand on her arm as she went a flip over another image. "We'll find him. There's no need for this. He will never do this to another woman, I promise you." Brian would keep his promise. He had no doubt whatsoever. Those images represented evil at its highest level, and his job as an agent of God was to stamp out evil. He always did his job and did it well.
Mary, Mother of God!
Lambert whispered.
That son of a bitch!
Now do your fucking job and get our girl back.
Tiffany scooped out the images she had shown the world and ran out of the kitchen.
How did she survive that? How the hell can she even walk?
The detective demanded.
The human will to survive cannot be measured, detective.
Uriel said.
Human will? Is there any other kind of will?
Brian flashed a warning look at Uriel. They'd grown so accustomed to being able to speak at ease in Madison's house. They all needed a reminder that they were now among one who didn't know they weren't anything other than natural-born citizens of the human realm.
Figure of speech. Look, we need Madison's phone records, and we need to know if a call came in 1 hour ago matches any of these florist or garden shops. Can you do that or not?
Uriel's slip of the tongue frustrated him, and Brian knew he needed something to take the thought of the policeman's mind.
That's why you called me, so I can get phone records. Fine, but I want to know what these red and blue marks on this map are.
Brian knew this could go one of two ways, so he opted to use the truth to his advantage.
They are stairways to both heaven and hell. Blue for heaven, red for hell. Mastema is a demon, and he needs to cart Earth down to hell, or Kennedy will die of asphyxiation before he can torture her to death.
The detective rolled his eyes and looked at him like he'd lost his mind, which Brian had known he would do, so then he said,
They are places we've seen his cohorts. We've been tracking him since the first victim. See this place here? He pointed to a blue portal that had nothing at all to do with Mastema. This is Isley's deli. They work for him.
Gabriel's head snapped up and Brian fought hard to stifle the grin threatening to form. It would be twice as satisfying to bust up Isley's shop with legal backup.
How do I know you aren't behind all this?
Lambert asked Brian. I don't care if you think I did or didn't. I'm going to save Kennedy's life, and you will either be at my side when I do it or under my feet when I step over you.
Is that a threat?
Lambert puffed up his chest and sneered at Brian. No, it's a statement of fact.